Okay, so I'm going to go through this, guys, pretty nice and quickly. And yeah, so here we go. Type AB blood contains, well, the whole point when you have A blood or you have B blood, that means you have the antigen. So if you have AB blood, you have both A and B antigens, so the answer is C. Okay, number 2, a person whose blood type A has red blood cells with, well, A antigens. Okay? And the whole point, guys, is if you have A-type blood, that means your body is used to the A antigen. So it's not going to produce antibodies against that A antigen. Okay? However, if you have a B antigen, your body will see it as foreign, and your immune system will react to it. And specifically, it'll create B antibodies. 3, people who have A antigen normally would not produce the anti-A antibody. The whole point of that being your body's used to the A antigen, so it's not going to make the A antibody. So if I normally have B blood, B antigens, then it won't create a B antibody. Universal blood donor is type O. Remember, O can give to anyone because it doesn't have any antigen. So people with A, B, or AB blood their bodies will not attack the O blood. AB blood, interestingly, is the universal acceptor, meaning it can accept A blood, B blood, and O blood. And just as a reminder for Rh positive and negative, if someone's Rh positive, that means they have the Rh factor, that protein on their red blood cells. So they can accept from positives and negatives. People who are Rh negative, it means they don't have the protein, so they can only accept from people who are Rh negative. Okay, 5, O is recessive. Okay, remember A and B are codominant, which we'll get to later, so nothing's dominant over anything else. 6, what is the process of transferring healthy blood? That's a transfusion. Persons from blood group A can donate to which group? They can donate to people who are A and to people who are AB. Okay, because people who are A and AB already have the A antigen, so their bodies won't fight it. Okay, 8, a person with O positive blood can safely be given what type of blood? So who can they receive from? They can receive only from people who are O positive or people who are O negative, so A, because their bodies would produce the B antibody if they are given B blood, or the A antibody if they're given A blood, or the AB antibody, and so their body would attack the blood if they're given anything else. The fact that people can have AB blood is an example of codominance. So codominance, you see both alleles, you see the A and the B. In incomplete dominance, it's a blend of the two. Sex-linked genetically inherited traits can appear in both males and females, but affects them unequally. So males, it affects them more. You'll see more males that are affected and fewer females. Y-linked traits are inherited only by males. So females are XX, males are XY, so only males get it. Remember, the X for males comes from the mom, and the Y comes from the dad. Men with red-green color blindness inherited the genes from their moms. So remember, red-green color blindness is found on the X chromosome, and since men get their X chromosome from their moms, it had to come from their moms, not from their dads. Women with X-linked disorders always pass the genes for this disorder to, well, women have 2 X's, so they give 1 X to a daughter, they also can give the X to a son. Okay, so both daughters and sons. While if a man gives a sex-linked disorder to their child, the only person who will get it is their daughter, because they only give the X chromosome to their daughter because they give their Y chromosome to their son. 14, humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. The 22 that don't determine a person's gender are called autosomes, while the XX or XY are called sex chromosomes. Which of the following disorders can be observed in a karyotype? Remember, a karyotype is like this below, okay? So the main point is that it's not a single gene mutation, it is a chromosomal mutation. So trisomy 21 is the only one in these that is a chromosomal, meaning you mess up an entire chromosome. Which of the following disorders is a direct result of non-disjunction? So remember, non-disjunction is in meiosis instead of splitting perfectly, right? So one goes in one cell, the other chromosome goes in the other cell. They stay together. So you can have trisomy, which is 3 chromosomes together, or you can have monosomy where you only have 1. So remember, for monosomy, it is Turner syndrome. For trisomy, it is Klinefelter's and trisomy 21, or Down syndrome. So the answer is B. Cystic fibrosis. B, the issue with cystic fibrosis, you have a lot of mucus built up, and that's because of an issue with the chloride channels. We didn't go into details about this, but that's why you have fluid buildup. Any issue with hemoglobin is sickle cell anemia. Defective gene found on the X chromosome is any sex-linked mutation, and then trisomy is Down syndrome. Okay. Here, you know it's Turner's because you've only got one X chromosome. Everything else looks good. Here, your X and your Y look fine. Okay. But if you notice, you have 3 21s, so that's Down syndrome. Here, you've got an X, and a Y, so that's Klinefelter. So these are the 3 chromosomal mutations. We then have the genetic mutations, which include cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and whatever the other one was. So cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and Huntington's disease, which is a dominant disorder. The other 2 are recessive. Okay. Here, I know that this is autosomal recessive because notice men aren't more affected than females are, and men can be carriers. If it's sex-linked, guys, men cannot be carriers because they only have one X chromosome. So that's important to remember. Here, sorry, the picture is weird. You have all of these men are affected, and you don't have any men that are carriers. You only have women who are carriers, so therefore it's sex-linked. Here, if you notice, everyone's affected equally, and there aren't any carriers. It doesn't skip a generation, therefore it's autosomal dominant. Here, I made a cross. Okay, what is the probability that any of their offspring will have hemophilia? I should have completed this cross. I didn't. I'm sorry. This would be X big H, X big H, X big H, X little h, X big H Y, and X little h Y. So this is the only one who would have hemophilia because it is a recessive disorder. A woman carrier, so she's big H, little h, marries a hemophiliac male, so he's just little h. What proportion of the male children? So we're just looking at these 2 right here who are the only males. This would be normal because it's X big H Y, and this one would be a hemophiliac. So therefore 1 out of the 2, so that's 50% or 1/2. What proportion of female children are hemophiliacs? So here we've got a normal, and here we've got one who has hemophilia, so half of them. This would be a carrier, this would have hemophilia. So keep in mind, guys, while she can be a carrier because she has a big H, little h, so she carries the allele but doesn't express it, right, because it's recessive, that's the definition of a carrier. Men cannot be because they don't have another X to hide it. Phenotypically normal male marries a homozygous normal woman, so he is normal, so X big H Y, and she's X big H because homozygous means the same. So what's the probability that any of their, well, we don't have any little h's here, so automatically 0%. This one's funky because if you get this Y chromosome, you have hairy ears. So the dad is XY, he has hairy ears, and the woman is XX. Notice I didn't put any letters here, right, because we're just dealing with the Y. So the moral of the story, his 2 sons, the 2 possibilities for his sons, they will both have this Y chromosome, so they will automatically have hairy ears because they got this Y which has hairy ears on it. So yes, their children have hairy ears. So the mom's normal, the dad is hairy-eared, so I'm going to color it in, he's affected. Okay, out of the 4 options, the 2 daughters, there's no way for them to be affected because it's just on the Y chromosome, while for the sons, they're both automatically going to have hairy ears because they got the Y chromosome from dad. Can this trait be bred out of the family line? Well, the only way to ensure that this is lost, the hairy ears, is for the daughters to marry normal men and then have sons and daughters, etc. Because if these guys have kids, if they have sons, the trait will continue on. So the only way for them not to have hairy-eared kids and for it to be bred out is for them only to have daughters, and there's no way to guarantee that. So these guys, these girls, if they have kids with a normal husband, will not have hairy-eared children. Okay, baldness is inherited. Hold on, I'm going to see how much we have left. Awesome. Okay, baldness is inherited as a sex-linked chromosome. Okay, and it's dominant. So a male, an affected male, so X big H Y, marries a homozygous recessive female, so she's normal. Okay, the phenotypes. Remember, phenotype is what you see. It's not the genotype like X big H little h. So the phenotypes are whether they're non-bald or they're bald. Okay, so here's where it gets a little bit complicated. I'm starting here. So you have the husband who marries a woman who's normal, okay, and there are 4 different possibilities. You've got 2 sons, and they are not bald because it's a dominant disorder, and you have 2 daughters who are bald because it's a dominant disorder and they get the big H from dad. Okay. Now, here's the hard part about this. It says, what are the genotypes of both sets of grandparents? There are a lot of different possibilities. Okay. So here, let's start with dad. Okay. Now, in order for this guy to have gotten the X big H, it doesn't depend on his father at all, right? Because he got the Y from his dad. So his dad could be X big HY or X little HY, right? We don't know if the dad of the dad, this guy right here, is affected. So it could be either of those because we're just relying on the Y chromosome. For the mom, she had to give him a big H, but we don't know if she was X big H, or just X big H, X little h. So she could be either of those two, okay? Then for the mom of the mom, okay, we know that she is normal, X little h. So she had to get from her father X little hy, so the dad had to be normal, right? Wasn't bald, but then the mother could have been X little h, or she could have been X big H, X little h, because all we care about is just she needs to get one of these from mom. So it could be homozygous recessive, or she could be heterozygous. A man sues his wife on the grounds of infidelity. Okay, so both of them have normal vision, but their daughter is colorblind, and this is sex-linked recessive. So if you think about this, I would draw this out. I didn't because I can do it in my head, but if you can't draw it out, it's totally fine. If the man is normal vision, that means he's X big H Y because it's a recessive disorder. The wife is normal. She could be X big H, X little h, or X big H, X big H. The only way for the daughter to be colorblind is to have two little h's. And since the wife is only contributing one little h, the man, the father, would have to be colorblind as well for his daughter to be colorblind, to be X little h, X little h. So therefore, we know for a fact that the daughter is not the daughter, right? And his suit is going to be successful. A man, so he has defective color vision, results from okay. A man 1 and a woman 2 both have normal vision, okay? They have 3 kids. So we know, since it's recessive, we know that the man is X big H Y. We don't know about the woman yet because she could be a carrier, so I'm not going to write that in. You realize, though, that they have a colorblind son, okay, a daughter with normal vision, so we don't know quite what she is yet, so I would just draw a circle at first, okay, and a daughter with normal vision. So they got 2 normal visioned kids, okay. The reason why I know this is heterozygous is because they have a son who's colorblind. So automatically I know that X little h has to come from mom, okay. Now, I'm going to keep going through this. So the colorblind son has a daughter who has normal vision, okay? So we know that the X little h had to go to the daughter, which means his wife could be either X big H, because she just has to give one X big H, or the wife could have been X big H, X little h. We're not sure. So I don't half color it in. I just leave it as it is, okay? For here, the next person, daughter 4, has normal vision and has a colorblind son, okay? And then 2 normal sons. So we know for a fact that she has to be a carrier because she's giving this X little h to her son. She's a carrier because she's normal. She seems normal, but she's carrying this to give on to her son. So she's going to be colored in. We honestly, oh, and then her husband, I don't know where it says this, but I think she marries a normal husband, so he would be X big HY. For daughter 5, she has normal vision and has 6 sons who have normal vision. So she could either be X big H, X little h, or she could also be X big H, X big H, because she just has to give that X big H to her son. And then the husband, I believe, is normal. Okay. So you notice when I say include the genotypes, I include all the different possibilities. Do not just make something like this and not include genotypes, because then I can't give you credit. All right, last 2. A man with AB blood marries a woman with O blood. Remember, these are the way you write the genotypes for blood types. So I, capital A, I, capital B, and then little I for O. The children they would have would either be A or B, so the O child is adopted. Here's the last one. It's kind of tricky. You got a man with B blood, wife with A blood. There are a lot of different possibilities for their genotypes because B can be I big B, or I big B, I little b. So I created all these Punnett squares. You should have 4 of them. Okay, I big B, I big B, I big A, or I big B, little I big A, I big A, or so you see all of them. I'm not going to go through them. But the only possibilities, the kids could be AB, They could be A, or they could be B. Those are the only possibilities. Oh, or they could be O, as you see right here. So I expect all of these to be drawn out by you guys if I ask for them. Okay, that's it. Make sure to study all the practice tests that I've given you, everything like that. Review the other practice test I gave you, review your quizzes, everything like that, and you'll be fine. Just be prepared to show your work and really work through these problems. Don't just guess.